These garlic knots are amazing and better than any from a restaurant. Hi, my name is Christina. I'm with eatingonadime.com. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm usually in my sister Carrie's kitchen, but today I'm in my own kitchen and I am showing you one of the best garlic knot recipes there is. Now, this is a little bit more complicated than some of our other recipes, but trust me, it's worth it because these garlic knots are amazing. They're going to be perfect for like a holiday dinner, a family dinner, or just because they're that good. All right, I have linked the full recipe in the description below, as well as all the utensils I will be using. So first, get out your stand-up mixer. I'm using like a KitchenAid mixer that I've had forever. It works great. You want to fit it with your whisk attachment first. Start with warm water. You want it warm. So you can put water in and microwave it for a bit or just get it warm from the tap. Either way will work. This is 1 1/3 cup warm water. We're going to whisk in 1 packet dry active yeast. Now, if you're not using the packets and you're measuring it out, it's about 2 1/4 teaspoons. Either one of it works, but look at that package there. This is what we always use and it works great. Now, if you keep yeast in your, see if I can get this open, pantry, make sure it's not expired because expired yeast is not going to work and your dough is not going to rise. So check the expiration date if you've had it in there for a while. And then add in 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. Then whisk this together until it's combined. Once it's combined, now we're going to let it set for about 5 to 10 minutes for that yeast to fully activate, and you're going to see that it's going to get foamy, and that's how you know that it's ready. It's been sitting for about 10 minutes and I wanted to show you up close what it looks like. That's what it looks like when it's foamy. So you just let it sit and it'll activate the yeast. And now we're ready to continue the process. So leave the whisk attachment on for your stand-up mixer. We are going to add in 4 tablespoons butter, and this is softened at room temperature. Now, I do recommend you let it soften at room temperature, but if you forgot to set it out, you can put it in your microwave for just a few seconds. You don't want it melted at all, but you do want it when you touch it, your finger goes like right in and will indent the butter, and that's how you know it's nice and softened. Then add in 1 large egg and a teaspoon of salt. And then mix until these ingredients are combined at medium speed. So on mine, it's like numbers. So I start it like at 4, and then once it's like not gonna splash, I'll bump it up to a 6, and it's gonna get it nice and combined. So I just want to show you up close what's this going to look like, because it's not going to look like it's super mixed, but it's fine. Just mix it on high speed for a couple of minutes and you'll be good. Once that is mixed, we are going to switch out the attachment. So take off your whisk one. I'm going to knock it on the side to make sure I get all the ingredients into the bowl. And then add in the dough attachment, which is this little cute hook attachment. Now it's time to add our flour. You need all-purpose flour for this recipe. So on the amount of flour, it's 4 cups total, but you may or may not need it all because each batch is kind of different. So we're going to add the flour a 1/2 cup at a time. We're going to lock this in, put it on low speed, and gradually add the flour in until a dough is formed. So let's talk about how to measure flour. You want to scoop, not pack, and then scrape it off with a level. So that's why I like my big container, because it helps me remember. Do a big scoop and then just take a level and knock it right off. And that's how you measure flour. And add it into your mixture a 1/2 cup at a time and then don't add the next one until that's pretty much combined in. Scoop, scrape, scoop, scrape, scoop, scrape. So after each addition, check the sides and use a spatula to scrape it down to make sure it's not just conjugating on the sides, whatever you want to say, like, get in there. So this is what it looks like after 3 1/2 cups. You can see how it's starting to form, but it's still pretty sticky. You want it to be where it's going to hold into a ball. So I'm going to go ahead and add in that last cup and then continue to mix it on a low. So this is how you know you have enough flour, because it's no longer sticking to the sides and it's sticking mainly to the dough hook. Once your flour is added, I'm going to go ahead and pull this off of the dough hook, and then we're going to mix it on low speed for about 5 to 6 minutes, and that's going to make sure it gets all combined, and you want to mix it until the dough is just slightly sticky to the touch. This is essentially kneading the dough, but the machine is going to do it for us so we can save our hand strength. After it's been beating for like 5 to 6 minutes, get out a large glass bowl. We're going to put a little bit of oil in the bowl. And you just kind of move it around to coat the bowl. I'm going to do a little more here. And we're going to put this dough in here, and we just don't want it to get dried out or stuck to the bowl. So that's why we're oiling it up here. You can also take a paper towel and spread it around the sides as well. And then take the dough. Ooh, let's see if I can get this bowl off. Okay, I was pulling it the wrong way, guys. That's embarrassing. Everything's harder when you're on film, okay? All right, take this dough out of your bowl, and we're gonna put it in this glass oiled bowl. It's okay if it's sticking a little bit. You want it slightly sticky, just not like super sticky. You notice not a ton is sticking to my hands, and that is great. Then roll that ball around in the oil, because we don't want it to get dried out and we don't want it to stick. So just a couple of tosses works. Great. Then cover the bowl with plastic wrap. See if this, perfect, got it. Do you guys struggle with your plastic wrap? Sometimes I do. We were just talking about how we wish they sold them in sheets, but you know, it is what it is. All right, cover it in plastic wrap, and we're gonna let it set for about an hour for it to rise, and it should be double in size. Our dough is ready. As you can see, it has definitely doubled in size. Now it's time to form the knots, the fun part. Start by lining 2 baking sheets with parchment paper. We're gonna go ahead and set these aside for now. Now, before I start working with the dough, I'm gonna de-ring myself because it's a lot of hand work. So take your rings off, save your rings, or they're gonna be getting cleaned later. We're gonna take a little bit of the flour. I added more, guys. If you notice, it miraculously got more full, that's why. And then just sprinkle a little bit on your work work table, your countertop, wherever you're gonna be doughing this out, just so it won't stick to your countertop. All right, then we're going to take this dough, and we're going to do what we call punching it down. So you pretty much just like deflate it. You just punch it right in, and then you can remove the dough easily from the bowl. And then just put it right on that floured work surface. So now the first thing we want to do is divide the dough, just so all of our knots are kind of the same size so that they bake evenly. So I'm going to divide this big old dough into 8 pieces. So the way that I do this is using the rule of just divide it in half, and before you know it, you're going to have your pieces. So start by dividing this dough in half, and we have 2. And then we're going to divide one of the half in half again. And if it's real sticky, you can use like a knife to do it, but I'm just using my hands. And then divide those halves in half again and again, and that's going to give you 8 once we do this. So that's 4, and then this will give us nice and 8. So they don't have to be exact, but you can see how we have 8 sections we're going to work with to make our rolls. Now it's time for the fun part. Get the short people involved, get your kids to help. Set all of these aside. We're going to each work with each section one at a time. So take one of your sections, there are 8 sections. We're going to divide this into 3 somewhat even pieces. Don't stress, just do it as close as possible. And then flour up a little bit on the outside. We're going to roll that into a rope. I like to just take it in my hand like this and kind of work it, and you want it to be about a 1/2 inch thick. So another way you can also do it is kind of roll it on your counter and your work surface, and you want it to be about 9 inches long and a 1/2 inch thick, but don't worry about being exact, just close enough. Then once you have your rope, we're going to tie it into a classic knot, And we're going to place that right on the baking. Just place it right on your baking sheet. I do 12 per sheet, and you want them spaced a little bit because they are going to rise again. If the dough is a bit lumpy, don't worry about it. When it rises the second time, it works all of that out. Last one. All right, so space them out about 12 per baking sheet. Now, once you get them all nice and rolled, and look, they don't have to be perfect. That's the best thing about homemade rolls is that they're all each a little bit different. Once you have both your sheets ready to go, loosely cover them with plastic wrap, and we're gonna let them rise for another hour. So anytime we make homemade rolls, the dough usually rises twice. Once when you're making the dough, and then once when you make the rolls. So these rolls should be double in size again. Let them set at room temperature, and then they'll be ready to bake. So I'll see you guys in an hour. So the rolls are almost fully risen. You want to go ahead and preheat the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Look, they are doubled and they're fully rised and they're ready to bake. So all you got to do is remove the plastic wrap. You want to be careful not to let them over rise because they will get like huge, okay? So about an hour and a half, double in size, perfect. And you can kind of see some of these are a little wonky. They look better now that they've risen. So once the oven is preheated, we're going to bake these for about 10 to 12 minutes until they're nice and golden brown. While the rolls are baking, we're going to go ahead and prepare the topping. First, you need 3 tablespoons of melted butter. I have 3 tablespoons here, and I'm just going to melt it in the microwave. When I melt butter, I just do 20-second intervals to prevent from overcooking it until it's completely melted through. 30 minutes was all that, or 30 minutes, 30 seconds was all that mine needed, and it's completely melted. Now we're going to add in all the flavors. Start with a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. Mix that right in. And then a half a teaspoon of salt. And what we're doing is making a nice topping that's going to go on that rolls that adds a ton of flavor. Woo, it's amazing. And then just a quarter teaspoon of parsley. Then just mix to combine all these ingredients. Now I just put it in a little microwave safe bowl, and it's super easy, and then just stir together with a spoon. Now, when the rolls come out, we're gonna brush this on immediately with a basting brush. So any type of basting brush will work great. You just wanna cook them till they're nice and lightly golden brown. This is just perfect. So while the rolls are still warm, we're going to rub that butter mixture right on top with our basting brush. Be stingy, make sure you're slathering them good because this is what gives it all the delicious garlic flavor. And then sprinkle the tops with Parmesan cheese. I'm just using grated Parmesan cheese. This is from like the shaker you get at the store, and it works great on these rolls. I like the texture and the consistency. It's about 1/4 cup total. Now you can do more or less depending on your taste, but I love the flavor that this adds to the rolls. Just gently sprinkle it on top. More or less depending on what you like. Now you can use your hands if you'd prefer. I'm just trying to, keep it nice and sanitary for you guys. I already have rolls missing because people are coming in the kitchen, they can smell them and they can grab them because they're that good and that tasty. Now you can serve these rolls as is, they're amazing, but I love serving them with a little marinara sauce to dip them into. This is the perfect side that will be gone literally in minutes. And that's it. They're ready to serve and enjoy. And the best thing is if you don't want 24 right now, these freeze great and you can defrost them out, heat them up, have delicious, easy garlic knots anytime you want for a quick and easy dinner. You can even freeze them by like portions. So if your family eats like 3 to 4, you can freeze them in like 3 to 4 packs. And then you just frost them out, heat them up, and it's ready to go. Thank you guys so much for joining me today in my kitchen, usually in my sister's kitchen, but we're mixing it up today while she's moving in between houses. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's recipe and that you learned that you can even make homemade bread at home, and it can be easy and delicious and of course affordable. I cannot wait to hear what you guys think about these. I hope you make them and then leave us a comment on the post and tell us what you think, because we love hearing from you guys. All right, I'm out of here, and these garlic knots are calling my name. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I will see you next time. And until then, remember, friends, eat at home by eating on a dime. Bye, friends.